Hello students, I am uploading Indian Councils Act 1909, which is also called as Minto-Morley Reforms. Second one, Montagu-Chelmsford Reforms 1919, and third one, Government of India Act 1935. Apart from this, I have also uploaded Indian Independence Act. Go through the video, understand it, listen carefully, and all the best. Yeah. In the last class, we have studied about the three phases of the Indian national movement we have studied. That is nothing but moderates, extremists, and Gandhian era. Now, when you see moderates and extremists, they could not able to put any pressure on the British government. Why I'm telling these words is we could not get the independence. So Britishers were, taken it moderates and extremist phase very casually only we can say. But when the Gandhian era also started, Britishers taken it very lightly, and they were never serious of granting us independence. But only in the last phase of the Gandhian movement, that is after Quit India movement, yes, we had a hope that we, the people of India, and India as a whole, had got a feeling that yes, in near future from 1942, that India will be getting its own independence. But meanwhile, the British government started appointing, British government made several acts is concerned. Those several acts are there, which is there on your screen, Nana. But we are not going to study all these acts. This is for the information what I've just typed it on your screen. But the major acts what we are going to study is Indian Councils Act 1909, Government of India Act 1919, Government of India Act 1935, because these are the three acts which are there according to your intermediate syllabus. Now let us discuss about the first act, that is nothing but Indian Council Act 1909. Now, who was the main person who initiated this act was, the names are very clear. Minto-Morley Reforms, Lord Minto, and the other one is Lord Morley. Who is Lord Minto? Lord Minto served as Viceroy and then Governor General of India, and Morley, who served as then Secretary of India. So these two people have taken initiative in making Indian Councils Act 1909. I'm sorry. The main reason contributed for this act, why did they made, what was the need for them to make this act is because all over India there was a growing discontent among the people. Apart from that, people were against British. Not only Britishers, and moderates have created a foundation for the Indian national movement. So in order to satisfy the Indians and the moderates, Lord Minto and Morley came up with the reforms called Minto-Morley Reforms. Now, what are the main provisions of this act? Let us discuss. The main provisions of this act are, just see the sentences. The act has extended the numerical strength in the Central Legislative Council from 16 to 60, and the provincial, that is the regional, that is the state legislature councils, to a minimum 30 to 52. So this is one achievement only we can say, because earlier the strength in the legislative council were only 16, but that were raised to 60, and in the provincial legislative councils, any depending upon the area and the geographical territory, minimum to 30 and the maximum to 52. This was, the achievement, or this was the thing, what Britishers wanted to satisfy the Indians in giving a representation in the legislative councils. Now, separate electorates were introduced. Separate electorates were introduced. Now, separate electorates, for whom all the separate electorates were introduced was, class electorate covering landlords and Muslims, and special electorates covering a chamber of commerce. Here, to whom, what the electorates were made was a general electorate. Besides the general electorate, like class electorates covering landlords and Muslim, means what, there was a separate electorates for Muslims, landlords, and the chamber of commerce. So this is the one thing, where they wanted to give a opportunity to Indian landlords, Indian Muslims, as well as the Indian chamber of commerce. Then the act introduced indirect election with right to vote is restricted to a few people. Here you just see they were doing some favor to India. They have started introducing the indirect election. This is a very positive sign towards the Indian point of view, because elections were introduced. But look at the franchise, that is right to vote. If you see, not all were given right to vote. It was restricted to a few people. To whom it was restricted? It was restricted to university senates. district boards, municipalities, chamber of commerce, and landlords. These were the people who were given a right to vote. I repeat once again, who were given a right to vote was university senates were given, district board members, municipalities, chamber of commerce, and landlords were to elect the members. So only this section of the people in India were given a right to vote is concerned. Now, the act facilitated one Indian to be nominated to the British Governor Executive Council and two Indians to be nominated to the Council of Secretary of State for India. Now, means what? They wanted to pretend that, they're taking care of the Indians. How they wanted to pretend that they're taking care of the Indians? They wanted to pretend by giving an opportunity to the Indians. Look at the number. One Indian has been given a chance to be nominated in the British Governor General Executive Council and two Indians to be nominated to the Council of the Secretary of the State for India. Now, this was some of the important provisions of the Indian Councils Act 1909 or Minto-Morley Reforms 1909. Now, from this text matter, we can easily say that nowhere these provisions have helped the Indians. Looking at the number, you can say, yes, more number has increased. But, where are the chance to the Indians? You have given, electorates were made. For whom you made? To the Muslims you made, to the Chamber of Commerce people you made, to the class people you made. And you have given right to vote, but not to all, restricted to few section of the society. And looking at so much of the population, only one Indian was given a chance and two Indians in the Council of Secretary of the State for India. So nowhere Minto-Morley reforms have satisfied. Again, what happened? There was a movement has started. When the movement has started again by the extremists, that is from 1906 or 1905 to 1920, they have carried away the extremist movement. Then British government came up with one more act called Government of India Act 1919, which is popularly known as Montagu and Chelmsford Act is concerned. This is what? Montagu and Chelmsford Act 1919. What was the main reason? Again, the people of India were discontent and extremists were also very, very, frustrated. Why the extremists were frustrated was because the British repressive policies of Lord Curzon, and they made the Bengal into two parts. And, there was a limitation on press and the individual civil rights were not being given totally. So these are the three main reasons where the extremists felt that, the movement has to be intensified, and they started intensifying by boycotting the British goods, British offices, British titles, and everything, we studied in the extremist phase. Now, let us study what are the important provisions of this act. This act, in the sense Montagu-Chelmsford Act is concerned. Again, when you see members in Executive Council of Secretary of State were increased from 8 to 12. Earlier in Minto-Morley reforms, it was only 1. But here when you see 8 to 12, they have increased. At the same time, members in the Governor General was increased from 1 to 3. So how much increase? Only 2 members were increased. Now when you see, the central legislature has become a bicameral legislature for the first time. Means everybody knows in your first year, your lecturers might have taught you about what is bicameral legislature is concerned. A legislature consisting of 2 houses is called as bicameral legislature. One is lower house, the other one is the upper house. Everybody are aware of bicameral legislature is concerned. So the first time Montagu-Chelmsford reforms have suggested that the central legislature should be a bicameral legislature with how much members, Nana? With 60 members in the Council of State, and in the Assembly it should be 146. So the upper house consists of 60 and the lower house consists of 146. And for the first time, Sikhs, Anglo-Indians, Christians, Europeans were also granted separate electorates, because you can find Sikhs in a territory in India where you find that. Similarly, in Anglo-Indians also, and the Christians, European, which part of India they find more, that, and they were granted a special electorates. And indirect elections were also introduced, but however, franchise was limited to a proprietor section and educated. Same what Minto-Morley has followed, the same thing even Montagu also supported it. They said franchise is nothing but voting. However, voting was limited to a proprietor section and educated. And for the first time, diarchy was introduced. Diarchy means what? Rule by two. Two. Di means two. Wherein the administration subjects were divided into two, the reserved subjects and the transfer subjects. Diarchy was introduced and the subjects of administration were divided into two, reserved subjects and the transfer subjects. The reserved subjects were totally under the British control and the transferred subjects were under the control of Indians. Now, what are the reserved subjects? Let us discuss some of the reserved subjects is concerned. The reserved subjects I'm trying to explain finance, irrigation, law and order. These are the, the reserved subjects are, what are the reserved subjects? Finance, irrigation, law and order. These are the reserved subjects. And what are the other than the subjects comes under the transfer subject, which was under the Indian control. Now, the Indians is concerned. So, reserved subjects were totally, were most important and were under the control of the governors. And the less significant subjects are classified as transfer subjects and which was under the control of, under the Indian minister is concerned. Now, what a discrimination you see. The important reserved subjects was under the British control, British Governor General, and the less important subjects were called as a transfer subjects which were given to the Indian ministers. Now, totally, even these provisions also, the provisions of Government of India Act 1919 also was not favoring Indian. So again, what happened? The movement have started because this is 1919. So again, from 1920 onwards, Gandhiji has taken care, the movement is concerned, means the responsibility was in the hands of Gandhiji. He took the lead role in fighting against the Britishers. However, that his methods was unique. So when he started, taken the responsibility, first he started with non-cooperation movement. In 1930 to 34, civil disobedience movement has taken place. So there was a feeling among the Britishers that every Indian is supporting Gandhiji's ideas is concerned. So when the movement was intensified in non-cooperation as well as in civil disobedience movement, British government came up with an act called Government of India Act 1935. Now, this was a deliberations of first round table conference, second and third round table conference is concerned. Now, Sir John Simon was the basis for the formulation of this act. So, who was responsible means Simon was responsible for Government of India Act 1935. Now, what was the main provisions of this act? Let us quickly see this. The act has created the All India Federation with the Union of Provinces. So, Indian Federation was made with the union of all the provisions and newly princely states like Orissa and Sindh were created. The act supported Montagues also here because they also supported diarchy at the central level but not at the provincial level. But at the state level, the government should be completely responsible and the ministers should be made answerable to the legislature. This is one good point what we are following today also. If any of the ministers is not functioning properly, they will be removed by the legislature by passing a no confidence motion. Everybody knows this. So the act has supported diarchy. The act has supported the responsible government and the minister should be answerable to the legislature. And it totally abolished diarchy at the regional level. Now, governors were given special powers and they could veto legislative action and legislate on their own. This is where, Indians were disagreeing the main provisions of Government of India Act. And for the first time, federal court was established. A federal court was established at the union level. And separate representation, like how Montague have given, the same thing, separate representation were given to Christians, Anglo-Indians, European, and the depressed class. And look at the last one. The act proposed for the expansion of universal adult franchise from 3% of population to 14%. Voting right were given, but look at the percentage, only the 14% were given. So overall, if you want me to conclude, none of the act, has favored India. None of the act has supported India. And again, what happened? Quit India movement has started. Then, Britishers were showing a favoritism towards India and, they started planning of giving the independence. So these three acts are very important from the final exam point of view. Hope you all understood it. Listen to once, twice, until unless you understand it. Okay, thank you and all the best. Students, you have understood about the three axis concern, that is 1909, 1919, 1935 Act. Now when you see all the three acts which has not favored Indians, instead it started favoring British government only. Now what had happened after 1935? Let us see here on the screen. After 1935 the act was passed, 1935 act was opposed. Why? Because you have studied very clearly, you understood that only 14% of the Indian population were given absolutely inequality. This is absolutely injustice. Out of the total population, only 14% of the Indian population were given a voting right. This is absolutely injustice. Then what happened? The same 1935 Act has provided despotic powers to Governor General. This is absolutely, again, selfish nature. Then what happened? Indians demanded complete independence and formation of Constituent Assembly to draft a new constitution. So Indians after 1935 Act demanded the British government that we will have a complete freedom, and we would like to form a new Constituent Assembly to frame our own constitution. So we can say that the foundation for Indian Constitution had its origin from after the 1935 Act itself, we can say. Now what happened then after this? The demands from the Indian side was growing day and day. The British Governor General Lord Linlithgow made Indian part in the Second World War. Now this is open betraying with Indians. Now why I say betraying is because without even consulting Indians, without consulting Indians, Indians were made part of Second World War. This is absolutely open betrayal. So everywhere there was, agitation, everywhere there was a resistance from the Indians towards the Britishers is concerned. Then in 1940, British government came up with a August offer is concerned, in which more Indians will be accommodated in the Executive Council of Viceroy of India. Now this is, it's like an crocodile tears. It's like an eye wash to an Indians that, it was just, a point where they want to suppress Indians by adding this point called more and more Indians will be given a part in the Executive Council of British Viceroy. Now this was, Indians felt that, these people are trying to cheat us. Then Gandhiji intensified his civil disobedience with a civil satyagraha. Individual satyagraha. He intensified his civil disobedience with individual satyagraha, wherein Britishers started, feeling, that, Indians' demand for independence is growing day by day. So British government sent a Stafford Cripps with a proposal. And what did he said? He said that dominion status will be given, but only after the war. And this is what is a Cripps proposal in 1942. And when Indian dominion status will be given at the cost of the war means, Indians rejected even the Stafford Cripps plan is concerned. So immediately Gandhiji gave a call for Quit India movement in 1942, which is considered as a do or die movement is concerned. And when the movement was intensified in Quit India movement, Wavell plan was also proposed, or Wavell plan also was made, and which was also rejected. Now what was the Wavell plan is concerned? Wavell plan, absolutely, we can say it was like a poisonous thought the Britishers had towards India. What was a poisonous thought? This is what is a poisonous thought. They wanted to provide a separate representation on a communal lines. We will give you a India self-government, but the self-government will be provided for separate representation on communal lines. Now means what? Britishers wanted to divide Hindus and Muslims. However, here the Muslim League has accepted, but Indian Congress has not accepted the Wavell plan. So there was a rejection of the Wavell plan. So all this made Britishers to rethink and give a status to India of dominion, or they wanted to give India independence. So that's how they made an act called Indian Independence Act 1947. So these are the key points what we can remember, which led for the Indians to get its own independence, and Britishers made Indian Independence Act is concerned. And what did they do in the Indian Independence Act? This is what is an Indian Independence Act. There you see Attlee, there you see Mountbatten. And this is the British House of Commons where they passed the act of the Independence Act. This was the last act of the British government. Which was the last act? Indian Independence Act was the last act. And it was a combined efforts of Mountbatten and Attlee. As I told you earlier, Attlee, Mountbatten, they made an efforts of making an Indian Independence Act. And formally, this act was introduced in the British House of Commons on July 4th, 1947, and got the royal approval on July 18, 1947. So 4th July they introduced. After how many days, Nana? Here 6 and 8. 14 days. After 14 days, the bill was passed from the House of Commons. So that's how India was made. India was given an independence. Now, what was the key points of this act? These are the main provisions of the act. Two separate states shall be constituted, that is India and Pakistan. Now, when they made this act, the main provisions are, these are the main provisions. The two separate states shall be constituted, stating India and Pakistan. Here's a Mountbatten. Now you see Nehru and Jinnah. Jinnah is considered as, the father of Pakistan, and Prime Minister Nehru. So Mountbatten, when they made Indian Independence Act, one of the provision was to separate India into two pieces, that is India and Pakistan. And both India and Pakistan will have their own constituent assembly for preparing their own constitution. And the British supremacy over India and its princely states in India will be seized from 1947. And territories were defined, but they were empowered to include or exclude any territory themselves. So territories have been defined. This is what is India. Anything you want to include, you include. Anything you want to exclude, you exclude. So this was the provisions of the Indian Independence Act. So finally, on August 15th, we got the independence. Hope you all understood this particular topic. What is Indian Independence Act, you could able to know, and what are the reasons for which the Indian Independence Act has come into the existence. Hope you all followed. Now the next topic is regarding the Constituent Assembly, Constitution Drafting Committee of India. We are going to study. Hope you all understood this. Listen to once, twice and thrice, as I was telling you earlier also. You'll understand the topic. All the best.